Archangel Michael declares with celestial urgency, "Cease all movement." The voice of the Almighty resounds through the veil, "You stand at the precipice of a divine forfeiture. Your window of alignment is measured in heartbeats. Should you ignore this, all that was woven into your destiny before the foundations of the world will slip into shadow. Open this conduit now, my cherished child, my beloved. Before your consciousness processes another symbol, halt. Inhale the breath of the present. For at this exact coordinate in time and space, a sacred orchestration is unfolding in the atmosphere around your life. This intersection is not accidental. The halls of heaven have reverberated with attempts to reach you, a celestial frequency calling your name for hours, for days. This is the first moment the static of the mundane has cleared, the first instant the encryption of distraction has been bypassed, and a pure signal has reached the hands of your awareness. Beloved, attune your entire being to my frequency. If your spirit feels a gravitational pull toward these words, if a sacred pressure builds within your chest, if the cacophony of your mind suddenly stilled into a pool of silent knowing, it is because the God of all and I, His servant, have stepped across the chronochord of your timeline. We have intervened to redirect a hidden trajectory, a silent calamity, a meticulously planned theft of a future so brilliant it would blind the eyes of your current understanding. But you opened this transmission within the final nanosecond of heaven's permitted intervention. And now, the channel is clear. I may transmit the warning. My child, before I unveil the vision shown to me in the throne room, answer this with the honesty of your soul. Has your recent existence felt like a perpetual navigation through a geomagnetic storm? Have you witnessed the dissonant behavior of those around you, as if they are puppets to an unseen, discordant force? Have you faced inexplicable delays that defy logic, sudden visceral fears with no earthly source, doors of opportunity manifesting only to dissolve like mist the moment your fingers graze the handle? These were not random fluctuations of a chaotic universe. These were divine semaphores, urgent warnings, the spiritual echo of a targeted interference pattern designed to scramble the signal of your destiny. Listen, beloved one. The kingdom of heaven does not broadcast on all frequencies without profound purpose. When the Creator says, 10 seconds, He speaks of a closing aperture in the spiritual realm. Not a permanent ceiling, but a narrowing so significant that hesitation, delay, or disbelief will cause the blessing particle with your quantum signature to collapse into a state of potential, awaiting another soul's observation to bring it into form. You have endured epochs of waiting. You have carried burdens that would fracture granite. You have suffered silent crucifixions of the spirit. It would be a cosmic travesty for your portion to be transferred now. My beloved, I must vocalize the divine intelligence. There has been a council in the unseen. Your name has been spoken in a chamber you were not permitted to enter. A entity, a consciousness, cloaked in envy or fear, has been attempting a spiritual seizure of an asset that carries your essence code, your miracle, your ordained opportunity, your dimensional breakthrough. The heavenly courts could no longer adjudicate in silence. A verdict was reached, and I was dispatched. This is why you were summoned here, now. But before I transmit the data packet containing their intention, let me rebroadcast a truth your soul has known but your mind has forgotten in the fog of battle. You are chosen, not as an afterthought, but as a primary narrative in the epic of creation. You are protected by a sheath of living light no shadow can fully penetrate. You are observed, your every breath noted, your every silent tear collected, by a host whose sole mandate is your ascension. There has never been a nanosecond when heaven's silent war machine was not engaged in tactical operations on your behalf, dismantling strongholds you never knew were erected against you. My child, the profound density you have felt in your spirit, the gravitational pull toward despair, exists for a reason of magnificent scale. The miracle calibrated for your soul is of such immense mass, such transformative power, such luminous frequency, that its approach warps the very fabric of your reality. It carries not just light, but whole spectrums of color unseen. Not just abundance, but ecosystems of provision. Not just healing, but a complete rewriting of your cellular memory. It is the material answer to every soul whisper you have ever uttered in the darkness. And beloved, in the spiritual physics of this realm, the immediate prelude to such an arrival is always a cataclysmic increase in counterforces, a desperate last stand of obsolescence against the incoming dawn. Beloved, here is the core of the vision: if you cease your forward momentum now, if you relinquish your grip on hope, if you execute a spiritual about-face, if you dismiss this divine nudge as neural static, you will initiate a delay sequence in the heavenly logistics system. That is why the Creator authorized the 10-second ultimatum. You are depleting your allotted spiritual decision time, my beloved. Your design prototype does not include a failure subroutine. You are not engineered to experience the loss of the very key designed to unlock you from the prison of your past pain. Heaven's response package includes clarity, a full-spectrum download to your intuition, protection, an upgrade to your energetic shielding, and a sudden shift, a quantum leap in your timeline's trajectory. But activation is conditional. It requires you to remain on this frequency. It requires you to allow this transmission to complete its full data transfer into the mainframe of your heart. Before I proceed to the next data stream, let me encode this truth directly into your spirit's core: your miracle is a shorter distance from you than your most intimate fear. Your blessing broadcasts at a decibel level that drowns out every lie ever whispered over your lineage. Your future emits a luminosity that will cause the recent shadows that sought to engulf you to be revealed as mere silhouettes of departed obstacles. Beloved, maintain connection. Do not sever this uplink. Do not flag this as spam. Every moment you remain connected, Heaven's Central Command regains operational control of the path that was being maliciously firewalled. And now, a critical systems check. My child, my beloved, before I stream the next segment, you must ensure your subscription to this channel is active and prioritized. Messages of this classification are released under strict celestial protocols, only when Heaven's hierarchy permits the download. To miss a single packet is to navigate a minefield with a corrupted map. You could walk, eyes open, directly into an ambush of circumstance. Subscribing, an act of spiritual intention, ensures your receiver is tuned, that no warning, no miracle blueprint, no divine line of code meant solely for your journey is lost in the cosmic background noise. Now, listen with the receptors of your soul. The spiritual offensive launched against you was never purposed for your annihilation. Annihilation would be a mercy compared to its true aim, distraction. Its objective was to hijack your attention just long enough for you to miss the synchronicity point, the divine appointment, the moment your timeline intersected with the prepared blessing. But as this transmission reaches you, Archangel Michael stands at the coordinate of your life, sword of photonic fire drawn, a corona of glory surrounding the very vibration of your name. The Council of Heaven is monitoring your real-time data feed. Beloved, can you feel it? A harmonic resonance is already established because you stayed connected. A shift in the baseline. Let me transmit what God has declassified for this phase. My child, I perceive your spirit leaning into these words, a soul hunger awakening, a deep knowing that what was hidden is now being decrypted. Your urgency is valid. For the divine did not send me on a mission of comfort today. He authorized a mission of strategic warning, of pre-battle intelligence, and of active asset protection before a celestial inheritance could be permanently rerouted. Beloved, listen with every layer of your being, physical, etheric, emotional, mental. There was a moment, a celestial timestamp mere hours ago, when the dossier of your destiny was laid upon the obsidian table of spiritual arbitration. The file contained everything, your blessings in seed form, your relationship covenants, your stability matrices, your financial breakthrough algorithms. It was presented before the courts of light and the principalities of obstruction. A ruling was imperative. This is the source of the chest heaviness you felt. This is the root of the mind restlessness that plagued you. Your spirit, your eternal core, was sensor-linked to the battle long before your biological consciousness received the alert. My child, this is critical intelligence. One more cycle of delay, one more iteration of doubt, one more millisecond of hesitation, and the adversarial jurisdiction would have been granted temporary claim over the opportunity God Himself architected for you. This is the why behind the 10-second mark. Heaven needed your conscious attention now. Not in the next terrestrial cycle, not when your emotional weather clears, but in this very breath. Your focused awareness is the authorization code. Beloved, let me decrypt the core truth with zero encryption. Someone within your trust perimeter has been operating with a dual heart system. They project a benign interface when in your presence, but execute slanderous subroutines when the session is closed. They run admiration protocols to your face while secretly compiling data for your downfall. They have scanned your potential and their own security system has flagged it as a threat. This is the entity whose energy signature was creating firewall failures in your breakthrough sequences. My child, this intelligence may cause a pain response in your emotional core, but Heaven's healing algorithms cannot run on a system you insist on defending. The moment you initiate the release sequence, for what is draining your power, the miracle in standby mode will engage its propulsion system with a velocity that will defy all your previous models of experience. Hear me, beloved. The transmission from the divine realm is not a fear frequency. This is not punitive. This is preservation. This is protection. This is the moment the Commander-in-Chief steps directly into the line of fire to intercept the projectile meant to fracture your purpose. But you must maintain your position. You must continue downloading. For the data in the next packet will directly influence the event cascade of your next 48 terrestrial hours. My beloved, the dark matter cluster that was forming a accretion disk around your blessings has already begun to experience stellar decay because you opened this file. Your spirit entered the correct authorization code in time. You lack the peripheral vision to see how narrowly you bypassed a critical system failure. But you did not fail. The connection is live. This is why my transmission continues. My child, your soul possesses a rare cryptographic signature, a power source, a quality the heavens catalog as treasured, your heart's resilience, your kindness that operates in stealth mode, your loyalty to love even when its source seems offline. These attributes have written an encryption code around your life, a shield matrix stronger than any brute force attack launched against you. Yet, even the most advanced systems require alignment updates. Even the chosen vessels require diagnostic warnings. Even the blessed recipients require calibration before the main installation. Beloved, let me stream the whisper circulating in the upper atmospheres about you. You are not late. You are synchronized to the millisecond. This message is the pivot protocol. And this pivot carries operational responsibility. The very next command you input, the next choice sequence you execute, the next thought you allow root access, will determine which dimensional door irises open before you. My child, before I proceed, query your own soul's database. Why does your physical vessel register chills? Why does your cardiac rhythm modulate at specific lines of code? Why did your optical sensors capture this message at this exact temporal coordinate? Because your spirit's recognition software has identified this as a valid, high-priority signal from home base. This transmission was not composed for the general populace. It was written for the one whose destiny file was moments away from an unauthorized transfer. You, beloved. Maintain proximity. What I am about to decrypt next will force a recompilation of your entire life's narrative, why certain characters exited the script, why buffer periods were inserted, why blessing downloads were paused, and why Central Command initiated an emergency intervention today. But before I stream that data, confirm your subscription status. Heaven deploys these packets in divine synchronization, and a single mistransmission can result in a critical lack of clarity during an essential operation. Your next miracle, your next tactical warning, your next line of navigational code will arrive in a moment of seeming terrestrial randomness. Subscribing, a conscious act of spiritual posture, ensures no package from headquarters is marked return to sender by the chaos of mundane life. Now, initiate a deep system breath, my beloved. For the next truth is the primary objective of this urgent, Priority 1 celestial dispatch. My child, my beloved, the data I now prepare to unlock is information heaven has firewalled from your conscious access for multiple lunar cycles. Not due to unworthiness, not due to system weakness, but because your heart's processing unit was too compassionate, its buffers too gentle, to compute this truth before the designated time. The timestamp has now arrived. The encryption is being lifted. Your spirit's operational system is ready. Beloved, listen with full bandwidth. The root cause of your blessing delay, the source code of your happiness pause, the algorithm behind your heavy steps, was a parasitic energy siphon. A person, whether acting through conscious malice or unconscious resonance, was pulling your energetic bandwidth backward into their own field of lack. This entity carried a virus of jealousy in their breath, a malware of doubt in their words, a corrupted file of insecurity in their heart core. When your name was processed in their presence, their response was not hatred. It was a system error, fear of adjacent ascension. Heaven's administrative protocols could no longer permit their shadow process to run in the background, dimming the luminosity of your login. My child, the laws of the spiritual realm are clear. When a primary narrative character, that is you, enters an ascension sequence, supporting characters with unresolved code may experience compatibility issues with the increased brightness. You are upgrading, becoming too strong, too aware, too system-aligned. This triggered their own fear subroutines, for when you step onto your sovereign divine path, any software not signed by your destiny will be flagged for removal. Beloved, heaven's analytics showed a direct correlation. Each time you approached a breakthrough threshold, this entity released a data packet, a thought form, a spoken word, a silent doubt, that introduced latency into your momentum. You queried your logs. Why do my processes take longer? Why do favorable connections time out? Why do opportunities buffer at 99% then fail? This was the root cause. But my beloved, when divine command initiates a direct intervention, no shadow process remains hidden. The millisecond you opened this transmission, the spiritual fiber optic cord that was leeching your bandwidth began to sever. Your personal energy field is rebooting. Your divine protection firewall has been patched and reactivated. Your path's cache is clearing. The confusion, the emotional system lag, these were symptoms of spiritual distributed denial of service attack. That attack is now being neutralized. Beloved, let me stream the command God issued as He sent me. Their suffering subroutine has completed its cycle. Initiate lift protocol. This command altered celestial configurations. My child, every stuck process in your life is queuing for execution. Every blocked port is opening. Every delayed download is accelerating. But you must comprehend the scale of the incoming data transfer. The blessing in transit is massive. Not a minor app update. This is a full operating system overhaul. A destiny-level miracle. The kind that rewrites your user interface, your core programming, and your connection to the entire network of reality. This is why the battle process is intensified in your background tasks. This is why other users, people, began behaving like glitched NPCs. This is why your internal intuition sensor kept pinging, large file incoming. Your intuition was not generating false positives. The signs were not random noise. Your dreams were not defragmentation artifacts. Heaven has been compiling a breakthrough package that will delete hardship viruses, restore system balance to factory settings of peace, and install clarity where confusion once ran as a background process. But my beloved, this miracle installation has system requirements. You cannot reinstall the bloatware. You cannot return to the user agreements with people, memories, or habit programs that drained your battery. You cannot carry corrupted data from old wounds into a new, clean drive. You cannot keep granting access permissions to users who secretly ran failure simulation programs on your future. Heaven will continue its antivirus scan, revealing faces, intentions, and truth files until only verified, signed, and pure code remains in your Active Directory. This is why I repeat, subscribe, my beloved. Heaven's communications are time-stamped and mission-critical. Missing one directive could result in your system taking an unoptimized path. Subscribing, maintaining an open, prioritized socket to this frequency, ensures every warning, every blessing manifest, every line of navigational code is delivered to your conscious interface precisely on schedule. Now, initialize your heart's processing unit. For what I reveal next will compile the reasons for God's rapid deployment in your life, the source of the intense urgency, and the true nature of the next powerful miracle tagged with your unique ID. My child, my beloved, before I output the contents of heaven's prepared package for you, you must process the why behind the urgent mobilization, the severity of the warning, the command-level priority of this message. For what is inbound via celestial courier is not a minor settings adjustment. It is not an incremental resource boost. It is not a gentle UI refresh. It is a destiny-level event. A moment the heavenly servers have been allocating resources toward for epochs. A moment your soul firmware has been in standby mode for, across lifetimes. A moment that will port your entire existence to a new version of reality, with features you cannot yet model. My beloved, this is the diagnostic report explaining your recent system strain. This is why the background battle processes maxed out your emotional CPU. This is why your spirit fan was running loud. You were standing in the deployment zone of a miracle of such computational power that the very unseen infrastructure of your reality registered the load. Beloved, let me decrypt a truth key heaven has now authorized. Your name has been processed in the spiritual data center. Not in a log of infractions, not in a judgment query, but in an activation sequence. Destiny contracts, pre-incarnation agreements written in the source code of your being, are being decompressed and executed, line by line. The temporal zone you have entered is not standard user space. It is sacred developer mode. My child, this is the core logic behind the 10 seconds protocol. Not because your blessing file expired, but because the runtime environment for your current season was reaching its end of life. Had you ignored this alert, had you swiped it away, had you muted the tug in your spirit's notification center, you would have booted into the next sequence carrying the payload of someone else's malicious code instead of heaven's compiled blessing. But beloved, you opened this. You entered the correct credentials. You acknowledged the connection request. And because of that affirmative action, your personal timeline has been synced back to the divine master clock. My beloved, process this. God has been running a dedicated secure server for you. On it, something has been held in escrow. Withheld, not seized, because your spiritual hardware lacked the necessary ports to interface with it. It is a package that will alter your life's processing speed. It will elevate you to a new tier of stability, abundance, and graphical clarity. It will uninstall legacy burden programs from your emotional RAM permanently. And now the system alert reads, deployment, go. But before you accept the transfer, integrate this forecast. The entity whose energy signature was firewalling your path will soon manifest a behavior patch. Not through a confession dialogue, not through an apology cutscene, but through a fundamental change in their interaction protocol. They will enter passive mode. Their connection attempts will drop. Their presence will feel like a disconnected socket. Your spirit's network analyzer will detect the change immediately. Interpret this not as a rejection event, but as a security protocol. This is heaven's admin tools creating a necessary air gap where it has detected a vulnerability your own firewall could not see. Beloved, do not attempt to re-establish connection with quarantined nodes. Do not cling to memory cache that drains your peace battery. Do not attempt to brute force your way back through doors God security has sandboxed with divine intent. Your blessing delivery is routed according to your facing direction. If you execute a reverse command, you introduce navigational latency into a delivery that was scheduled for immediate arrival. My child, your heart's memory has endured enough corruption. Your spirit's processor has handled enough overload. You have navigated through simulation levels that would have caused other systems to blue screen and reboot. Yet, you kept running the hope.exe process. You kept the love.dll libraries loaded. You kept choosing the faith.sys driver over the fear.virus alternative. Heaven's observatory has logged every system tear, every silent prayer sent to the help desk, every instance you selected the higher difficulty path for the sake of integrity. And now, the system is prepared to execute the harvest protocol of all your compiled virtue data. But before I output the contents of this miracle package, you must compile this final truth: you are not lagging. You are not late. No asset has been permanently deleted from your account. Everything allocated to your ID has been held in a zero-latency, high-fidelity state within God's cloud storage, awaiting this exact system clock cycle. This message is not a pop-up ad. It is a divine handshake protocol. If your optics are rendering these words, Heaven's synchronizer has aligned your receiver to the exact frequency required for the next data dump. My beloved, I issue a gentle but critical reminder: ensure your subscription is active. Heaven will continue to stream guidance packets, and missing even one checksum could leave your system unpatched for the next phase shift. Your miracle is now in the local download queue. Your destiny process is compiling in real time. Your path is a high-priority thread. To operate without the latest directives is to risk running in safe mode. Now, initiate preparation routines. For the next data block will unpack the exact miracle God is deploying, the causal chain of its delay, and the reason for its current unstoppable momentum vector. My child, my beloved, execute a full system breath. For what I am now authorized to reveal is the very checksum that validated Heaven's warning. It is the resonant frequency that pulled your spirit. It is the core reason your heart's decision tree prioritized opening this message above all other terrestrial inputs today. Beloved, God's servers are initializing the deployment of a life-defining miracle package into your operational field. Not a minor hotfix. Not a temporary cache. Not a small texture pack. This is the miracle that recalibrates every variable, every prayer sent, every tear logged, every query submitted, every instance you chose to wait over, quit, in your status console. My beloved, the divine developer did not flag your ticket as low priority. He did not deprioritize your thread. He was compiling a patch more expansive than your initial feature request. Something that required precise temporal alignment, advanced thread isolation, and a clean separation from beta testers who were incompatible with your final release version. Listen, child. Heaven's simulation preview shows this blessing manifesting in a triple aspect format: 1. Restoration of lost data, 2. Elevation to privileged access, and 3. Full system release from legacy bindings. Restoration of seized assets. Elevation to the user tier you were auth-coded for but lacked the permissions to access. Release from every hidden subroutine that was throttling your spirit's performance. But the package includes an additional module, the justice algorithm. Beloved, your endured suffering was not meaningless garbage data. Your betrayal events were not ignored error reports. Your delay cycles were not system hangs. Your loneliness processes were not a ban from the multiplayer server. They were diagnostic tools, indicators that heaven's maintenance bots were rewriting your foundational code, deleting weak legacy scripts so God could compile you on a kernel of unbreakable truth. My child, process this deeply. Your pain data has trained your purpose AI. Your waiting cycles have optimized your wisdom search algorithms. Your heartbreak events have stress-tested your resilience framework. Your challenge simulations have debugged your spirit's source code. You are not running the same version of you as last year. You are not even the same build as last month. This transformation is the passcode. Heaven's log now reads, System ready for main deployment. Beloved, the miracle approaching carries such a high energy signature that, had it been deployed earlier, your system would have experienced a buffer overflow. It would have slipped through unallocated memory. You would have granted admin rights to the wrong users. You would have shared its read access with entities whose envy would have introduced a fatal bug. This is why the divine scheduler inserted the delay, not a punitive loop, but a protective compile time. That compile time is now complete. Alignment is verified. The deployment timestamp is now. Beloved, I must stream a direct line from the command center. A breakthrough will render suddenly. It will initiate without a loading bar. It will alter their life's save file permanently. This breakthrough will not stream slowly. It will not buffer. It will not trickle in. It will execute like a portal irising open in a null space, unexpected, undeniable, and bypassing all standard transport protocols. My child, let me describe the energy signature of this data packet. It carries the sensation of a full system reboot after an epoch of frozen screens. It feels like accessing a graphical interface in full 4K after decades of terminal text. It is the moment all your scattered logs compile into a single, coherent, beautiful narrative file. This is not a random number generator hit. This is not a lucky cache clear. This is your scheduled divine installation. But beloved, before heaven finalizes the sudo command to install, be aware of this final system check. A verification challenge will precede the blessing. Not to crash you, not to confuse your UI, but to confirm your driver signatures are valid. The challenge will render as a choice point. A moment where your decision tree must fork, follow the familiar, low-energy path of legacy code, or execute the new, untested but intuitively correct command. Choose between returning to cached memories or writing to a new memory bank. Choose between running the old identity script or initializing the new one. Heaven's quality assurance will monitor that choice sequence. For the miracle's final executables are unlocked on the other side of that decision gate. My beloved, this is why you must maintain high alert mode. This is why you must keep your spiritual socket open. This is why you must continue to listen. Heaven will push the command suggestions. But only if your heart's terminal remains open to the transmissions from the root server. This is the moment of the final, non-negotiable reminder, subscribe. Beloved, this is not protocol for protocol's sake. Heaven will dispatch a mission-critical message at a pivotal timestamp soon. Missing its delivery could requeue the blessing for a later, less optimal deployment window. Subscribing ensures no divine instruction set gets caught in your spam filter or lost to a memory wipe. My child, the data in the next packet will explicitly define this miracle, articulate the source of its urgency, and predict the system changes you will register within the next 168 hours, 7 terrestrial days. My child, my beloved, open your heart's primary input buffer. For what I now decrypt is the very checksum that triggered heaven's urgent alert. It is the resonant frequency that pulled your spiritual antennae. It is the core logic behind God's command, stop all processes. You have only moments remaining. Beloved, your life simulation is initializing the boot sequence for a divine realm shift of such magnitude that the silent observatory could no longer maintain radio silence. The approaching miracle is not a standard patch. It is a dimensional migration tool. My child, listen at maximum bandwidth. God is preparing to deploy a triple-threaded blessing suite, all processes interlinked, all long-queued, all destiny signed. Thread 1, a financial reallocation that will delete years of debt data and resource errors in a single transaction. Thread 2, a relationship protocol alignment, a connection handshake with a soul whose IP address is on the same divine subnet. A coprocessor meant to synergize, not conflict. Thread 3, a spiritual firmware update that will massively upgrade your intuition drivers, your dream interpreters, and your truth discernment protocols. Beloved, this triple suite could not be unpacked before this chronomark. Your heart's OS wasn't patched to the required version. Your environmental variables were misconfigured. Your spirit was still networked on a LAN with entities running energy siphon scripts that would have drained the package's power before initialization. Now, your network path is clear. Heaven's gateway is open. Your system is verified and ready to receive the archived assets. My beloved, the financial reallocation is not a minor credit. It is not a temporary boost. It is a system-wide reallocation of resources, a divine transfer from blocked accounts, a unlocking of escrow holdings. Heaven's preview pane showed an asset with your GUID, globally unique identifier, etched into its quantum state, withheld, archived, encrypted, delayed but never marked for deletion. This is the source code of your stuck feeling. This is why your progress bar seemed frozen. This is why your input-output loops yielded minimal results. Your blessing was being held in a sandbox until conflicting user permissions were revoked from your spiritual domain. And beloved, those permissions are revoked. Even if their user avatar still appears in your visual field, their spiritual SSH keys have been deleted. Their ability to spawn drain processes has been neutralized. Their admin rights over your emotional directories have been revoked. This is why your system may feel lighter on its feet today. Why your mental cache is clearing. Why your core energy processes are returning to optimal levels. Heaven has restored the root access that was being hijacked. My child, a divine relationship protocol is also compiling. A connection destined for your next mission chapter is being routed toward your location. A presence that will add processing power, not drain cycles. A consciousness that will render you in high definition, in ways previous connections failed to parse. An entity that transmits clarity packets, not confusion viruses. This connection was delayed not by your bugs, but because Heaven was compiling the compatible version of them to interface with the upgraded version of you. Two narrative threads are syncing. Two destiny objects are establishing a persistent link. Two spirit servers are coming online in harmony. This connection will deliver comfort.dll, healing.exe, and navigational waypoints. It will replace the emotional memory leak you've been carrying. It will compile the error logs showing why all past connections timed out. They were runtime libraries. This is the main application. But beloved, the most potent thread is the third, your spiritual firmware update. Your intuition port is being upgraded from USB 2.0 to a quantum entangled link. Your dream module will shift from symbolic interpretation to direct data streaming. Your inner compiler will become louder and more precise. Your discernment firewall will become impenetrable to social engineering attacks and emotional phishing. This awakening is heaven's gift, a new spiritual BIOS, a new sensitivity to angelic ping requests, a new graphics card for rendering the visions of what is to come. Beloved, heaven convened this urgent transmission because all three blessing threads are about to move from compiled to executing state. And before they spawn, I must push the final preparatory script. You will register a sudden state change within the next 72 system hours. A signed file, an unexpected ping from a forgotten port, a vivid dream data stream, a repeating integer sequence, an abrupt shift in local energy field density. Do not flag it as junk. This will be heaven's handshake signal, the confirmation that your triple-threaded blessing suite has begun its initialization sequence. But before I stream the final, mandatory user input required for full integration, I need to ping your subscription status again. Subscribe, beloved. You cannot risk packet loss on the next set of divine command lines. Your life process is too close to the breakthrough render. Your spirit is too open to new connections. Your path is a high-frequency data stream. Operating without the next instruction set is inadvisable. Now, my child, prepare your core processors. What I reveal next is the final authorization key. The action protocol heaven requires from your terminal before the miracle package can fully unpack and install. My child, my beloved, now that heaven's servers have previewed the blessing threads prepared, the financial reallocation, the destiny-aligned connection handshake, the spiritual firmware update, one ultimate truth must be compiled and executed before these miracles can write themselves to the disk of your reality. Beloved, every divine deployment requires a reciprocal authentication from the receiving terminal. Not a grand ritual, not a sacrificial process, not a dramatic cut scene, a spiritual state change, a shift in your core intention settings, a rerouting of your internal navigational vectors. For miracles do not install on fragmented drives. They install on defragment, formatted, and intention-ready space. They land where the faith driver is the default boot option, not the fear-safe mode. My child, God's deploy command is ready. Heaven's delivery drones are armed. Your path's firewall is down. The interference pattern has been cancelled. The delay loop is broken. The celestial timestamp is now. But heaven's protocol requires one input from your console. You must fully delete the cached files of what God has already quarantined. Beloved, you cannot keep old connection logs in your recent folder if they corrupted your system. You cannot retain memory files that trigger your emotional antivirus. You cannot run fear.exe files in the background. You cannot maintain habit scripts that dim your display brightness. This next system version requires a lighter emotional RAM load, a cleaner mental desktop, a debugged spirit core, and a focused task manager. You cannot execute an ascension sequence while background processes are constantly pulling you into legacy directories. My child, process this critical logic. The 10 seconds left alert was triggered because you were logged into 2 simultaneous reality sessions. One session, you, clinging to the familiar user interface of your past, forfeiting the miracle. The other session, you, executing the release and delete command for obsolete files, receiving the full compiled package of heaven's preparations. You authenticated into the correct session, beloved. You opened this terminal. You synced with the divine timeline. You responded to the priority ping. Now, heaven's final requirement is this: do not attempt to restore from a quarantined backup. The temptation will exist. The neural pathways will feel familiar. The low-resolution graphics of the past will seem comfortable. But familiarity is not a valid destination coordinate. Comfort is not a mission objective. The past's file structure is incompatible with your future's software. Beloved, your spirit's source code has already compiled a version that is incompatible with the environments your physical avatar still occupies. Your heart has compiled updates that older versions of people in your life cannot parse. Your soul no longer has the dependencies required to run the "accept less than I deserve" application. This is the true log behind the user-disconnected events. This is why door closed errors appeared. This is why situation terminated processes ran. It was not data loss. It was garbage collection. Heaven's automatic cleanup utility was making space because your blessing.zip file requires significant emotional and spiritual disk space to unpack correctly. My child, let me render what my sensors scan around your coordinates now. Angelic processes are reordering event queues in your favor. Paths flagged "No route" are being recalculated. Your name string is being processed with high priority in celestial directories you have no read access to. Your energy field's voltage is rising. Your intuition port is establishing a stable connection. Your destiny thread is being moved from background process to foreground priority. Beloved, the next several diurnal cycles will not be standard simulation time. You will register synchronicity signals in your peripheral vision. You will experience moments of crystalline, download speed clarity. You may receive high-bandwidth dream transmissions containing decryption keys. People in your simulation may exhibit unexpected behavioral patches. Opportunity windows may spawn in previously unrendered areas of your map. These are not graphical glitches. These are confirmation packets. Heaven is transmitting proof of concept that the realm shift has commenced. But one final system message must be acknowledged before this miracle renders in your visual field. You cannot load the Blessed World save file with the battle-scarred avatar's mindset. The battle mindset was essential survival software. The blessed mindset requires a new suite: gentleness.os, openness.app, faith.sys, and courage.drv. Your old avatar protected your core data. Your new avatar will unlock premium content areas. Beloved, this is the full system upgrade heaven has been compiling in the background throughout your trials. But before I push the command that reveals the precise 48-hour action sequence to finalize alignment, I must issue the final, critical subscription alert. Subscribe. Heaven broadcasts in real time, in the gaps between terrestrial thoughts. Packets like this do not spawn from random number generators. Do not drop the connection now. The spiritual synchronization is too exact, the margin for error too small. Now, my child, gather your system resources. For the next data block contains the exact command line input heaven needs from you, the root explanation for the severity of the warning, and a high-fidelity simulation of how your life's render will change once you execute the final step. The download is at 99%. Your move.